What is going on, everybody? It is Dylan with Extra DFS, bringing you a new video. Today's video, I'm going over how to play showdowns. So there's no for sure fire way of how to consistently make cash on showdowns. It's kind of random for the most part. Your bank account and your money management and all that should be coming on main slates. I made a video about that. You guys should go check that out. But tonight we're talking about showdowns and how to put yourself in a better place for it. So there's always a big tournament for showdowns. The one for Kansas City and Detroit here. It's got the Millie Maker. I believe every showdown has got a Millie Maker too, if I'm remembering that correctly. But let's talk about how to take advantage of this. So the Millie Maker, the one to win all the money, right? You click it, you see the prize, right? So there's 296,000 entries. You have to be 62,500, 62.5. So you got to be very high in these contests. And if you're not doing what most of the big time players do, which is max enter or get pretty close to it, and they do 150 lines, so put that number in, you're putting yourself at a huge disadvantage doing these contests, entering only one line. If you're only entering one line, do single entries. You have the same shot as everybody else, right? You're playing your most confident line against everybody else's most confident line, for the most part, right? It's a single entry. So you have as much shot as 35,000 other people. Now, if you're looking for something to get money, basically, so to put yourself in the best spot, it's a 50-50 double up, right? So obviously there's not going to be as much risk, which means there's going to be a lot of the same players. And you're not capitalizing if you have a good line. If you have a really good line, you're not capitalizing in double ups. All you're doing is doubling your money, which is good, which is what you want. But as far as hitting that big time payday, you're going to want to tackle your single entries. And remember, if you look at DraftKings, they have it. The single entries will not have this M. M stands for multiple entries. And even this one, 20 entries max. This is kind of what you want to tackle if obviously you don't want to pay, $1,000 for one contest. You can do $60 for this. You have 20 lines, and it's the same thing. You're at the same advantage as everybody else. So now let's go in and look at showdowns and kind of figure out what they are and what they do. So if you tune in throughout the season, I make videos on showdowns. I try to do them all the time when I have time off of work to do it. And I will compare DraftKings and FanDuel. I think it's a good system to do. There's times where DraftKings looks really good. There's times where FanDuel looks really good. But we're just doing DraftKings right now. So DraftKings has a captain, and it's a 1.5 times their fantasy points. But it's also that for the salary. So base salary, you get Mahomes, Kelsey at 12.2 and 12,000. On captain, it's 18.3 and 18. So that plays a factor. You get 50,000 for your salary. So if you pay 18,000, right? See the average money right there. This is putting Mahomes as your captain, right? Yeah, that takes about 2,000 off every player. And remember, most contests, the quarterbacks are two of the most expensive players. You'll find games to where they kind of slip down. This one in particular, Amon-Ra and Travis Kelsey are above Jared Goff, rightfully so. But Patrick Mahomes is the most expensive. So let's put Jared Goff in, right? Let's say we know that Jared Goff and Patrick Mahomes have the two highest ceilings and two highest floors. So that puts us down even more. And now to try to factor in two of the highest scoring players on both teams, Kelsey and Amon-Ra, that's what we're looking at. It's not possible. It's not. So you have to find value. You have to make a hard decision and go, is Travis Kelsey going to outscore Amon-Ra? Yeah. But is Travis Kelsey at 1,800 going to outscore Amon-Ra in such a manner to where you're paying up for another position down here, and it makes up for that 1,800. If it's only 2 points, and you find value, you find a guy 1,800 more than you could with Kelsey, that's value. So the way that I break these videos down is obviously I go over the guys above 10K, right? Because that's where you make your tough decisions. This one's got 3, so it's and 2 at 12. That is really high up there. That is probably the peak that you will see on these is a little over 12,000. So we see that. You see then your mid-high tier guys. So Gibbs, Tony, I'd say is your mid-tier high. And then your mid players is pretty much Pacheco, Montgomery, Marvin Jones Jr. And then you come down to these guys that are always below the backup quarterbacks and stuff. McKinnon, MVS, Laporta. And then we start to get to close to the value. Start to get to the pretty much one guy per lineup is where you're getting this. So Sky Moore, Rasheed Rice. Then you get the kickers, which is usually with the defense. So they have the defenses down here lower. And that's because both offenses are high scoring, obviously. So I find value at anything under 3K. Under 3K is where you start to find value, and you're going to need one of these guys in your lineup. Unless you don't have a high 12K, there's value around the 5 to 6, and you're paying down for your captain. So I showed an example of Patrick Mahomes as my captain, but in this matchup, let's just say someone like Jared McKinnon, right? That's a lot different, right? We barely moved. And now let's plug and place these guys in here. Obviously, still can't do it, but we were able to get almost one more guy, but that cancels out. So, yet again, just an example, and going back to the flex now. So, you get Josh Reynolds here. You get Noah Gray, Richie James, Craig Reynolds, Justin Ross. Okay, got really confused. Khalif Raymond, Brock Wright, Watson, like Denzel Mims. There's tons of guys down here. You'll find in games to where someone like a Denzel Mims, right, couldn't make it into the starting lineup, right? Injuries happen, game plan happens, something happens, and Denzel Mims becomes a starter. This is the ultimate value. If you find anybody under 1,000 that has a really good shot at making some fantasy relevance in that game, that's what you go for. So let's use Mims as an example, right? Let's say Mims shows out in the preseason and training camp and stuff, and he gets that starting spot, right? We add him into our lineup. That's where you find value, right? That's where you find a guy that boosts your salary, has upside. You're not expecting Denzel Mims here to get you 10 fantasy points, right? You're expecting him anywhere from 5 to 8. If they get that, that is what you want. You pay $200. You're not paying anything for him. So to expect something high out of them, no. But they have upside. They have a potential. You know, they're going to see the field quite a bit to get points. And if they get you 5 to 8, if they get you more than 8, crazy value. 5 to 8 is what you want, right? You're more wanting the 8 than the 5. Don't get me wrong. But it allows you to pay up for these guys. So, just to use another example, right? So we like everybody up here. Let's say we're going to go with... We used McKinnon as our captain last time, and we still couldn't afford everybody. Let's throw someone else in there and see how it works. So, let's throw Clyde Edwards-Helaire in there. Let's see now what we got. Right? So now we can afford it. Obviously, Edwards-Helaire is not going to be a high-scoring or the highest-scoring guy. But if you wanted all those guys in your lineup, right, and you think Clyde Edwards-Helaire can hold his own enough, that is what you target for. So, It's very difficult to try to get this. I just always recommend when you're playing your captain to play a top 3 projected player, right? So obviously, let's say we all agree that Patrick Mahomes is going to be the high scoring player, right? Let's just all agree that he is. Not saying that he is, right? But let's just say we all agree. Like, everyone has him as the top projected player. So let's put him in the captain, right? We went over this earlier. You can't afford everyone here, right? It's not going to work. But let's say someone like Jahmyr Gibbs, is top 3 projected, right? Like a really good matchup for Jahmyr Gibbs. David Montgomery's out. Let's say there's some injuries on the Kansas City defensive front, right? And Jahmyr Gibbs looked good catching the pass in preseason. He got some preseason work, right? So let's put Gibbs in there. So it's not exactly what we want. We have him as top 3 projected, but it allows us to get some more of our highly projected players, right? It allows us to not just pick and choose between these bottom players, but allows us to kind of spend wisely. So that's basically it, guys. That's the advice I give. That's the tips. If you guys have any questions or anything going forward, feel free to leave a comment. I'll respond as soon as I can. I hope you guys did enjoy the video, and I will see you in the next one.